The Orange Zone, sponsored by Billy Whitaker Cars and Trucks and Apex Entertainment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Orange Zone Overtime. This is not our normal episode, but we had to hop on here immediately because we had to discuss Syracuse football, going bowling. We found out their destination, and it's a whole lot to discuss. I'm Samantha Croston. This is my coworker, Dale Ostrander. It's a new face that you probably haven't seen, but he is around here in the news parts of town. He's one of our news anchors here at CNY Central, but he's also an avid football fan. Give us your 1-minute pitch. Tell us a little about you.
Yeah, 1-minute pitch about me. Well, I grew up here, obviously, in Central New York, an Oswego County kid. Loved Syracuse football, obviously, my whole life. Syracuse basketball as well. Way more on the basketball side for me than football. Because I did go to Penn State. I'm a big Penn State guy. Obviously, that's not something a lot of people want to hear because Penn State, Syracuse used to be big rivals. But, man, I love college football. And like I told you, Sam, I watch from noon to 2 in the morning once our Lord and Savior Hawaii gets done playing every evening. So I love college football more than anything. It's all my passion is. So that's my 1-minute pitch to you.
Love it. I'm sold.
All
right. So Syracuse football is going bowling. They are headed to the postseason for the 3rd straight season. They're going to San Diego, California in the Holiday Bowl on December 27th to face Washington State at 8 p.m. Initial thoughts when you found that out?
Initial thoughts were, obviously, it could have been between Washington, Colorado, Washington State. I think every SU fan wanted Colorado. That would have been a cool dynamic head coaching thing. But the initial thoughts is, I think it's cool. It's an unfamiliar opponent, obviously. You haven't played Washington State in such a long time. Only that one time that they have played each other in 1979. So it's a cool, unfamiliar opponent. Obviously, they have a weird thing going on in Washington State. They're part of the Pac-12, which is only 2 teams right now. And that's a little bit of a mess with them and their schedule. They ended the season really subpar, losing to Wyoming, Idaho, and New Mexico. And they were 8-1, then they lost those 3 games. So Syracuse obviously coming in with momentum on their side, if you want to believe that part of it. But obviously, I know fans are upset with the whole travel aspect of it. But Sam, what were your thoughts of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's a few different ways to look at it, but since you went positive, I'll go negative. I think there is a part of me that thought, I mean, hey, it's not the Pinstripe Bowl, but it could have been better.
That's exactly it.
I think a lot of fans felt that way, you know? Thank God we're not going back to Yankee Stadium. But at the same time, the Gator Bowl was in the conversation. The Pop-Tarts Bowl was in the conversation. And instead, those were given away to Miami. They were given away to Duke. And now Syracuse and their fan base is forced to travel across the country to San Diego. I would understand the large majority of the fan base who thought they did deserve better. I know that Duke had a good season. They ended the season 9-3 as well. Obviously, Miami, also a good season. But, you know, I sort of feel like from a national exposure standpoint, it wasn't the best draw for Syracuse, just as far as having eyes on it, getting people excited. And I'm going to say it once, and then I won't dwell on it again. My heart really was set on Syracuse, Colorado in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That would have been good TV.
That would have been amazing TV. Picture Deion Sanders or Fran Brown eating a Pop-Tart, eating the mascot Pop-Tart after the game.
Dude.
That would have been absolutely amazing for people to have to watch. I mean,
Twitter
those guys
Twitter
would have exploded. They would have been in it. The only thing better for those two would have been the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That would have been hilarious for those two. Obviously, that didn't happen. But, you know, I think that could have been a great opportunity for that. I think that's what all SU fans were hoping to see for that bowl game with those 2 teams. But I think, you know, like you said, SU fans should be happy they didn't have the Sunday scaries of, oh, we're back in the Pinstripe Bowl again. And there's nothing against the Pinstripe Bowl. Most years, SU fans would love to be in that. But we've been in it so often lately, and we wanted more. And obviously, we got it this year for Fran Brown. You want to talk a little bit Washington State, I guess, and what they got?
So, listen, beyond the gripes and whatever, this is still a big-time bowl.
Yeah.
This is a bowl where many times, at least recently, in the past few years, there has been at least one ranked opponent. And just to give people a little bit of background, the Cougars finished the season 8-4, as you said. They are currently one of 2 members in the Pac-12. Washington State started the season 8-1 and reached the AP Top 25 before losing the 3 final games of the season. The other thing is, this is a game that could match 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah.
For Syracuse, you obviously have Kyle McCord. For Washington State, they have redshirt sophomore John Mateer, who finished 16th in the country with over 3,000 passing yards. But, and this is a big but, we don't know what's going to happen and if players are going to opt out.
Yeah.
If they do, that changes everything.
That does change everything. I think both these quarterbacks, it's going to be a show if both of them play, but we could see John Mateer potentially a lot of the Twitter analyst is that he could be the number one transfer prospect, and it looks like Oklahoma already has interest in him. He could not even be playing in this game by tomorrow for all we know. And Kyle McCord, same as well, if he wants to work on his draft stock and getting ready for the draft. But this could be a great quarterback matchup between these two guys. So I think that definitely makes it interesting. Going back to the bowl game a little bit, I mean, the Holiday Bowl, it's actually a prestigious bowl. I got on here 20 times it's been a ranked on ranked matchup between the two teams out of the 47 years it's been played. So I think this could be a good opportunity to make the most out of it. I mean, up to number 4 seed has been in this game before. So you can say that negative, this isn't the bowl we wanted. It's not. It's San Diego. It's across the country. But you can look at it positive, and I think we should, because that's everything that's been this year for Syracuse. Got to look at it positive for this football team. But Washington State, they're going to give Syracuse their best shot no matter what. Whoever may end up being at quarterback. And but Mateer leads this team, rushing and passing. So if they don't have him, that's a big drop.
It is. And listen, I think to your point, just to take a beat on it so people don't come at me in the comments for saying I'm a negative Nelly, I know that a lot of the fan base is feeling the same way I am, but I also know that if you told anybody in the Syracuse football fan base at the beginning of the season, you're going to end the season 9-3 with a win over Miami, and you'll be in the Holiday Bowl playing in San Diego during Christmas time, like everybody would have signed up for that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's important to zoom out and appreciate that. But, again, going back to the whole Kyle McCord and will players opt out, will they not? How do you feel about that just as a football fan? The fact that sometimes these players do have to put themselves first. Does it kind of mess up the game? Do you understand where they're coming from? Like, how do you feel about it, honestly?
I honestly understand 100% where every player is coming from. Everyone has to do what's best for them, for themselves. But I also do think it depends on the program. Certain programs have it where, even if you are that guy, you're still going to play for your team because you believe in what this program is, the tradition, and what it is for. And
or the coaches.
Or the
Deion
coaches.
Sanders said, hey, everybody's going to play.
Exactly. And there's some coaches who are like that and want to have that. There's some coaches who leave it up to the players. And I guess it does matter on what coach it is. Personally, of course, I'd love to see every player play, but financially, how much money's on the line for the NFL? Life-changing money for every person, of course. Everyone's got to make their own decision. But do you have any different thoughts on that?
No, I mean, the thing that is tough about it is, or this is just what's tough about the college football landscape in general, is even though they did extend the playoff out now, it's 12 teams, which is great. It's like, unless you're competing for a championship, you don't know what's going to happen in these bowl games. And I do totally understand it. If I had that much money on the line, I mean, damn, dude, I don't know what I would do. I probably wouldn't play, to be honest.
Yeah.
But just for the fans and for everyone who has stuck by this team and watched every game, It's like, of course you would like to see them finish out this game on a high note with all of the players who you've been seeing all year long. The other thing is, I truly believe that the bowl game, especially one like this that's a little bit more high caliber, I think it really makes a difference if you win a game like this, because now if you're Fran Brown in your first season, you have 10 wins, which again matches 2018. Think about just for the recruiting purposes, for anyone who is watching this game and potentially thinking about going to Syracuse, it becomes a talking point. It becomes something that you can sell people on. And it could potentially be a reason why people consider Syracuse or reconsider Syracuse, because they see what it is that you're building here. I'm not saying Fran Brown hasn't already proven himself, because I think you could end the season now and everybody would say that season was great and it freaking ruled. But if you go and you play a bowl game against a good team and you win, now all of a sudden it just adds fuel to the fire, in my opinion.
Yeah, 10 wins is program changing. Every year, if you get 10 wins, that's what people rank a lot. I mean, college football, regular season, 12 games, right? 10 wins. If you win, that shows where your program is at, honestly, every year. So if you can get to 10 wins, that is just an absolute perfect situation. And now you're talking about a rookie coach who got 10 wins in his first year. That's amazing. Something else I saw people complaining about was it's not a recruiting area for Syracuse. We got the #1 recruiter in the country last year as our head coach, Elijah Robinson, up there as well. You can go over there. Fran Brown could go over to San Diego and turn that into an opportunity to go over there and rep the orange brand and show people what Syracuse is. And not saying it's going to turn into a hot spot, but it could get a couple key players in the future potentially. So I know that it's not the southern part where potentially we're a lot better at recruiting, and I understand that. But I think it could be an opportunity, especially with the #1 recruiter in the country. We can't just say it's not a recruiting opportunity. Everywhere you go, is a recruiting opportunity to get someone to come play here and show the brand off of what you're building here, essentially. And I think, obviously, how positive Fran Brown is, he's going to take that and use that momentum to go over there, because obviously there's a lot of great college football players out in California. I mean, top 5 biggest recruiting state for high school athletes. So it's an opportunity for them to increase the brand, because that's what college football is nowadays. It's a brand.
Your point when you say that it's an opportunity, knowing Fran Brown, every time he comes up to that podium, that's exactly what he's going to say.
Exactly.
By the way, we are hearing from him tomorrow at 1 p.m. That will be the first media availability as it pertains to the bowl game. So come back to CMY Central, channels 3 and 5 and 6, actually. You know, we'll be talking about that. And we're also going to have another podcast that drops on Wednesday, our normal podcast, where we continue to talk about this. And we'll tell you what Coach Brown said. But there's no doubt that he doesn't say, you know what, now this is a recruiting opportunity. Yeah. Maybe that wasn't a place that Syracuse had reached into in the past, but with a guy like Fran Brown at the helm, that's not true anymore. Yeah. There's no place in the entire country, in my opinion, that is not going to at least have him sniffing around and seeing what else is out there.
The ACC is in California now, so it's it is a good opportunity. I don't know how you couldn't think this is a good recruiting opportunity to go over to a place that is actually a part of your conference now, and to go in there and potentially take recruits from Cal, take recruits from Stanford. That's an opportunity right there.
To your point, to the ACC, before we wrap things up here, I did want to give a little credit just to the conference as a whole. College football playoff berths and nation-leading 13 ACC teams earning bowl bids. It is, of course, highlighted by SMU and Clemson, who both earned a spot in the college football playoff. Got to give some credit where credit's due.
True.
Maybe to Syracuse in part, because they got Clemson in.
Yes.
But
Ashley tweeted that. She said that this is all due to Syracuse. But Syracuse got themselves into this better bowl game because Miami won and because the committee honored SMU's conference championship loss. So Syracuse did a lot of heavy lifting for the ACC to get them in the playoffs and to get these teams into these bowl games as well, I think.
What did you think about SMU getting locked into the college football playoff?
I 100%. When I went through the bracket in my head, that was exactly how I did the bracket. I kind of wanted my Nittany Lions to be 5, but I'm glad it was 6. Penn State obviously got the best draw out of everyone, but SMU definitely deserves to be in the playoffs. Alabama, 3 losses. Yes, you could say Alabama's a better team than SMU, but that's just not what we reward in college and what the committee rewards. I'm glad that they did not penalize a single team in the college football playoff for losing their championship game, because they've done that in the past. A couple years ago, Georgia was a 4 seed and barely lost the SEC championship, and they got kicked out of the playoffs. Well, that didn't happen this year. No one who lost really got out, because that was going to be the SMU. If they get lost, they would be out. But they weren't, and they got the 10 seed, which they deserved in that 100%, or 11 seed, excuse me. So
the numbers speak for themselves, baby. I feel like the College Football Playoff Committee did a great job.
For once. They did a great job.
No, but really, credit where credit's due. Yes. I felt like it made sense. It felt fair. I think a lot of people who are interested in college football in general appreciated what they saw there. Yeah. Any last thoughts on this bowl game, on the College Football Playoff, or beyond before we wrap it up?
Obviously, the college football playoff definitely needs some rework when you think that the 6th seed has the best opportunity to get to the national championship game. The 1 seed is getting, if it gets the winner of the 8 and 9 game, while the 5 seed gets the 12 seed, and then the 4 seed, and then the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed, it was not a reward. If Penn State won that game last night, it was not a reward whatsoever for whoever won it. So the 6th seed was the best seed, or the 5 seed was the best 2 seeds. So they need to rework some of that. I do think a lot of people are complaining about auto bids, automatically winning your conference like the Big 12 or the Mountain West for Boise State. You automatically get in the playoffs. It was, people are concerned about that. I don't like that. If you win your conference championship, you deserve to be in. Otherwise, what's the value in playing those games?
Agree with you 100%. Listen, it's a work in progress, but it's also the first year of the expansion. So I'm going to say this just once. Be patient, y'all. There's some work that needs to be done, but they'll figure it out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us. That's Dale Ostrander. I'm Samantha Croston. We will see you back here on Wednesday to discuss more about this bowl game and what's ahead for the Syracuse football team. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next week.